Hey everyone, welcome to the first of a series of videos of how it's made. I am going to be taking some of the tracks that I produce for royalty-free music and show you how I made them in FL Studio. So I'll show you the plugins and some of the techniques and strategies that I use to create the final product. I'll go ahead and play through the song and then talk more in detail about how it's made. Just as a reminder, I encourage you to check out the link at the end of the video and in the description for the full finished product that's on my other channel along with my other videos. And so let's go ahead and get started. So that was the playthrough. Let's go ahead and take a look at, first of all, what plugins that I'm using. So the first plugin that I'm using is from Native Instruments. I do have Complete 10 Ultimate, so a lot of the plugins I use happen to be from Native Instruments. And so I'm using their piano, the Grandeur. And the preset I'm using is a modified version of their Jazzy Grand. I think I upped the hardness just a little bit. A lot of times I'll mess with the stereo image and make it a little bit wider, but it looks like this time I didn't. But this is one of my favorite piano plugins, and I almost always use Jazzy Grand as the preset. You'll notice let me just pull it up real quick right here. Okay, so in the playlist, you'll notice that there's two automation clips that are involved with this. The first one is the channel volume. Right after this first section, I need to duck it down a little bit so that it's not so loud. And so you can hear it kind of ducks down a little bit. But I also noticed that when I ducked it down, it was kind of getting lost. And so what I ended up doing is I turned the color up a little bit and made the piano sound a little bit harder when it was originally. So by doing that, the piano was a little bit sharper, but it still wasn't as loud, so it was able to cut through some of the bass of the strings. Another thing is that I actually use two pianos, and I frequently do this for a lot of my tracks, particularly for the bass notes. I don't want them to have that harsh initial transient, so I lower it to be quite a bit softer, which makes a nice warmer bass sound. So I use that for my bass. Okay, let's take a look at a little swoosh action that we got here. Right at the beginning, we've got a bass swoosh, and this is just from Rise and Hit. This is just a custom. Both of these are just custom presets that I made real quick. This one doesn't have the cymbal, so it's just a little rumble. I like to do that at the beginning of my tracks for fun. Set at a very quick, just one beat to rise. And then throughout this track, you'll also hear this one, which is just a sub bass and a cymbal. So those are that. Let's see. For the strings, I'm using 8 Dio's Adagietto, and it's one of my favorite string libraries. It's also on sale right now for like ridiculously cheap. So definitely recommend picking it up. It's kind of like the little brother to Adagio strings. One of the things they really have, one of the really cool things that they have is their dynamic bowing, which means if I just play a note like that, it'll instantly record that dynamic bowing. I always set my mic positions on far and close because I can. And it ends up being really loud, so on the mixer you see I'll turn that way down. So looking at where I put that here, you'll notice that there's no automation clips, nothing fancy, it's just a single note. And it's because no matter what velocity I play, it's still going to do the natural swells for me. And that's kind of one of the reasons I really like that. Because it's just right out of the box, simple to use. I don't need to mess with automation, and it ends up sounding really great. So the staccato strings, we'll take a look at those. Those I just manually entered. And for that, I actually used Session Strings Pro. Adagietto also has a staccato string preset that sounds really nice as well. I don't really know why I used Session Strings, but I did. Anyways, Session Strings is pretty good. I like their short notes quite a bit. Some of their long notes are okay. I prefer Adagietto to Session Strings, but for certain situations, or if I'm just feeling like it, then I'll just use Session Strings for the short notes. Okay, and then finally the legato strings, I use Adagietto, and I used 4 different patches. So the bass, cello, and viola and violin. And this is a really complex library. That sounds really cool. It's a little bit harder to work with. So you'll notice let's see if I can find it. Okay, looking at my playlist. So right here for the melody strings. I did use an automation envelope to control the intensity. also made all of these relatively high velocity on Adagietto. The higher the velocity is, the faster the transition, as opposed to if I was to do low velocity, which is kind of cool for some solo applications, but for a track like this, I just want it to be quick. When it starts to be slow, that's when it doesn't fall quite right with other quantized items in the track. So you'll notice that pretty much everything in this track is quantized. And so it makes it easy to fit together, but when you've got legato strings that take a while for your ear to process, or that kind of slowly ramp up, it can be kind of difficult. So I set it all on just kind of a heavier velocity so that it would transition quickly. And let's see what else we have. Okay. That's about it. Well, I guess I didn't show the piano piece. So the piano is really just one track. And the way I came up with this is that I just played it. And I played around for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes playing different piano melodies until I found something that I liked. It's all quantized. But in a track like this, I feel like that's okay. But you'll notice I definitely didn't enter this in each note by note. All of these notes have different volumes. One of the biggest ways to make your piano sound terrible is to have it all have the same volume or the same velocity, as opposed to this. This sounds really fake, and this sounds quite a lot less fake. It's still a little bit fakey because it's all been quantized, and that's kind of cheating, I guess, but it works. And if it sounds good, it sounds good. All right, taking a look at anything else. I think that pretty much covers it. You'll notice that there's really not a whole lot of different tracks that went into this. It sounds like it's a full song, and it is, even though, there's not 30, 40 tracks that went into it. Most of these are just repeats, which is fine. A track isn't measured. The quality of a track is not necessarily measured by how many different tracks that you have, as long as they all flow together well. And then I guess we can take a look at some of the effects I used for the swooshes. I spelled that wrong, swooth. I didn't use any effects. For the piano, one of my go-to reverbs is actually the Fruity Convolver. I like it a lot, and I've been using it a lot. It's easy, it loads fast, and I think it sounds good. I always turn the wetness down because at its stock wetness, it's like way too much. So I'll turn that down just like there. On the bass piano, I'm not using anything. On the strings, once again, you'll see the convolver on the strings. I use a little bit more of the wetness. And on the melody, I used all the wetness. And even on the staccato ones. So I use a lot of wetness on the strings, and I turn it down a little bit on the piano, or else it gets fuzzy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if there are any of my other tracks. Visit my other channel, the Candy Stock background music. Those tracks are, as of now, they're all of mine. And if you have one that you want to see how it was made, they're all made in FL Studio. So let me know in the comments. Take a look at that channel. Let me know in the comments, and I'll do a how it's made for that one as well. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.